Hey! What's up, buddy? How
He's
are
in New
you?
York. And Yoshi, see?
So, Danielle told me that I'm no longer allowed to tour guide here in New York City. We have some family in town, well, a family member of sorts. Bryan,
A family member of
your
sorts.
family, right?
Hello. You know, she's a better tour guide. It's just what it comes down to.
So here's what
You know?
happened.
It might be mean, but it could be true. you know?
I sent Bryan to a pizza place. He wanted to try pizza. I'm like, you gotta go to this place. It's amazing. It's called John's. You should go. And so I'm telling Danielle that, hey, I sent Bryan to John's, and she's like, don't do that. They only sell whole pizzas. So Bryan went and bought himself a whole pizza. How was it?
It was very good, and I had extra to give away to people, so I gave it to the park, technically, because it started raining, I didn't have an umbrella, and I left it there. I ran off,
So
but it was
some-
delicious.
Someone in Union Square Park got about what, half a
Two
pizza?
pieces.
Two pieces.
I ate too much.
Okay.
So I'm gonna walk it off.
Okay. You will. We'll walk it off. We're gonna go to Rudy's Guitars. Bryan has decided to play one of the most expensive guitars in the store.
On accident. I wasn't being cocky. I just saw one I liked, and then I found out.
I had errands to run.
I'm gonna go be a tourist again. You know, these locals here, they're too much for me. I'm gonna go do the good stuff.
I'm not allowed, like I said, to give tour guide advice anymore, so
Yeah.
Danielle hooked him up.
She made the
It's
plan.
safe. He's not gonna get stuck somewhere with a whole pizza again. Everything's okay.
Over and
Worst
out.
place to be stuck, I guess. with a whole pizza.
See you, Bryan.
Okay.
So we're taking my mom to dinner tonight.
Yeah!
We were out of town on her birthday, and then it's Mother's Day this weekend. So,
We owe her a lot.
double duty.
And Easter. We were out of town on Easter too.
We're in trouble. Alright, after about 15 minutes of just sitting there on a train not going anywhere, we decided to go get a cab. Okay, so I had a plan for this video that didn't work out. I wanted to get Bryan on camera talking about some stuff, but we ended up playing guitar for too long, so this is what we're gonna do. So Bryan, he's been a missionary and gone to several different countries. He actually lived in Africa for I think about 3 years. He oversaw an orphan care program there, as well as a shelter for human trafficking victims, and he just has a lot of knowledge and insight into missions and ministry outside of the norm, outside of the usual stuff that most people think of whenever they think of church. And so specifically in terms of us starting a church here in New York, I wanted to get Bryan on camera talking about missions and ministry and things like that and how it relates to us and what we're doing. So here's Bryan.
So it's been about a week since I've gotten home from New York City. And man, it was an amazing experience. You know, I've gotten to travel to a lot of major international cities. And it's hard for me, I come from a missions background, and it's hard for me not to approach each new experience and new city thinking about it from a Christian worldview perspective. And my mind always goes back and imagines Paul in these different areas, right? So when I was in Hong Kong, I was thinking, what would Paul do here ministry-wise? How would he approach ministry? And New York City is, I mean, it's one of the biggest cities, in the most important, influential cities in world history, really, if you look at it. And so I think we've got a phenomenal opportunity to grow the church there. Now, the church in the U.S., it's big. I mean, the church in the United States is doing a lot. But when you look at what we're doing in New York City, we do not have a lot of churches. From my understanding, there are more mosques in New York City than there are actual Protestant churches throughout the entire city and the boroughs. And so, you know what it made me think of? It made me think of Paul in the book of Acts, chapter 17. He goes to the ancient city of Athens. In it, he kind of says he's distressed. He sees more gods than people. And in New York City, you start to feel that way because each person has their own thing that they're worshiping and that they're calling God. And that is not the God of the gospel. It might be culture. It might be cell phones. It might be, with social media and all the things that entails it. Their God might be sports. Their God might be music. It might be money, the accumulation of wealth and things like that. And so Paul's approach in a similar ancient city of Athens, it was a mecca at that time of what was going on in that region. And Paul's approach was to go around, get to know people, get to know about their culture, about their language. And, then he builds up and he gets to go and stand before the whole group. And what I love about the way Danielle and Josh are going about ministry in New York City, because churches are vital, but the way I see it happening is very organic. They're building relationships. That doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build relationships and to build a rapport, and then house churches start meeting up, and then you grow the church that way. It is tough work in New York City to grow the church, but that's why we have to be there. The importance of reaching a city like New York City is that there are so many people from foreign countries there. When I was riding over to go and see the Statue of Liberty for the first time, my Lyft driver was from Nepal. He was a Nepali man. I've spent a good amount of time in Nepal, and we had a conversation about Christ on that short drive over to the statue, over to that area. And it's so important to have churches, to have Christians in New York City, because the way the church grows is one-to-one relationship. I mean, without a doubt, open air crusades and preaching in public areas, that has been tremendous for the growth of the church, but also just important, like the Sermon on the Mount, right, is also just important when Jesus is meeting with people one-on-one, like the woman at the well. And Danielle and Josh have an amazing opportunity to do that in New York City. And what I love is that if you reach someone from a foreign country, New York City, they're going back to their homeland, telling their family about Christ, linking their family and their home country up to the church, or in extreme situations where we can't send missionaries, where the church is not allowed, where it's illegal to preach the gospel. Well, guess what? Preach the gospel to the family here in New York City. They're going to go back home and preach the gospel to their family. So I think it's vitally important that we have strong and healthy churches in New York City. I genuinely see it as a mission field.
Bryan, thank you so much for sharing that. I really wish we could have talked about it on camera together and actually had a conversation about it, but this is great. I really appreciate it. And you're right, like New York City really is a mission field, and that becomes more apparent and very obvious to us the longer we're here that that's exactly what it is. And so if anyone has any questions about what we're doing here with the church, I can send you some information. I have one of these. It has all of the information about what we're doing, what we plan to do, all of those things. You can also go to our website, the Noise.Church, if you want to support us, get involved in any way, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you. If you live in New York, let us know. We'd love to connect. And it'd be great. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.